Because we've got so many new faces in the, yeah, they're all mine. Because we've got so many new faces in the room, I thought that it might be a good idea to revisit my story. It is ongoing. I've been living with ITP now for more than a decade, and it was my story that sort of kicked this organisation off, and we all blame Rob for making the suggestion one day that I should start a website, and it sort of all snowballed from there. But I'm not going to talk about the charity now, I'm just going to talk about my story. And hopefully it resonates with all of you, patients, carers, our industry partners as well, because there are a lot of similarities, I think, when it comes to us as patients that we experience. There is graphic material in this slide as well. Not like graphic gruesome, but some pretty shocking stuff as well. So just so you're aware. So this was me the day I was diagnosed with ITP. I originally turned up to hospital with chest pains, and I was in emergency and told that I had a platelet count of 21. And I came back a couple of days later for a haematology appointment, ended up having a platelet count of 16. This is me and my son. Again, my head should never be that big. And I was admitted into the oncology ward. So I'm sitting there next to a woman who's had brain surgery, another woman on palliative care, and another woman directly across from me that was clearly sick, and I didn't feel sick. My initial reaction was, what's a platelet? And then what is ITP? Because in Queensland, they are the income tax professionals. So for me, ITP was something to do with tax. So I started to Google, as we all do, upon our first diagnosis. As you can see there, I was physically and visibly well, and I was started on high-dose prednisone. This was me 6 weeks later on prednisone. I was sleeping 1 to 2 nights a week, still working full-time, and I had a household of 2 kids and an amazing husband who put up with 45 versions of me in any given moment. I was eating my body weight in food. I gave my daughter a $50 note and said, get me chocolate, do not come back with change. That chocolate was gone within 48 hours. We celebrated my son's birthday during that period as well. I had 2 entrees, 3 mains and 2 desserts. So I was very, very hungry, but I was also exhausted, absolutely exhausted. But the good thing was, I was diagnosed by Rob Bird in Brisbane, who is on our board and one of our medical advisors who sadly can't be here today. So I was in really good hands, and I started on a clinical trial. The clinical trial was with Revolade or eltrombopag pre-splenectomy, because back in those days you needed to have your spleen removed to access that medication in Australia. But as you can see, I still experienced a lot of symptoms. That middle one is jam with prednisone in it because it tastes like shit. These are all of my bruises on a very regular basis. Now, the Sprite trial worked for me well, and I've just noticed I've missed an L in clinical. But the eltrombopag worked for me really well for a number of years. And during those years, I was really lucky. I was able to meet people like Patricia for the first time, Phil for the first time. We had our very first patient conference in 2019 here in Melbourne. And I was able to meet a whole lot of amazing patients and clinicians. There's also Chiwi there who came to the PDSA regional meeting that was held here in Melbourne in 2018. So I was really able to meet other people, and I thought, this ITP thing, what am I going on about? This is easy. Like, all these people have got all these crazy stories, and like me, I'm clearly not sick. Like, it's completely fine. Then things got real. About 3 years in, my platelet count started to drop. Treatment stopped being effective. As you can see there, I've got IVIG happening. I went through rituximab, MMF, prednisone. That's my medication bag from hospital, in and out of hospital multiple times. But my daughter's wedding, my daughter who lives in the UK, was getting married, and it was time to make some real hard and fast decisions. So we started to discuss splenectomy, and it was a number of months before I had to travel. And even though I was being looked after by Rob Byrne, who is is Australia's leading haematologist with ITP, especially at that time, I asked for a second opinion, because I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right job, doing the right thing for myself, to be able to get to the UK for my daughter's wedding. So I called the next expert down, Phil Joy. And we had the chat, we went through all of the paperwork, we went through everything, and it was, at that time, it was the next logical thing for me to do. Unfortunately, you can see the prednisone going on over here again, IVIG, me straight after my splenectomy. I deliberately don't show the photo that my husband took straight after that, because I was flipping him the bird. And then post-splenectomy, I developed a very large blood clot. It was so large, we call her Clotzilla. And I did end up going back into hospital for another week. And I ended up getting shingles on my eyelid from all of the stress, but it did give me a private room. So there was a bit of a rainbow during that storm. But the good thing is that I did get to the UK. I did get to my daughter's wedding. And while the splenectomy for me did not work, it was the right path for me at that time to make that decision. Since then, though, my treatments have, I've returned back to Revelade. I haven't had to go on prednisone anymore, knock on wood, because, that, as I hear from some patients, Satan's tic tacs, they turn you into somebody that you don't recognise. But the roller coaster was real, was absolutely real. And I don't regret a single decision that I've made across the path, because it's led to here. I get to meet with every one of you. I get to travel quite extensively. I get to meet some amazing, researchers, scientists, clinicians, not just locally but internationally. I get to present locally and nationally as well, and make sure that the patient voice is included in absolutely everything coming down the pipeline, because if we're not part of the conversation, it sort of shouldn't be happening, and frankly, nothing about us without us. Simple as that. So yeah, ITP has changed my life, definitely. If somebody said to me 11 years ago, Danielle, you're going to get to go to Paris this year and go to a conference, drink champagne, present and be able to work with all these amazing people, I would have told you were absolutely dreaming. But ITP has changed my life, but it may have taken away a couple of things, but it's given me so much more. So much more. And those of you that know me, I'm a glasses half full kind of gal, especially when it's wine or a margarita. But it's connected me with so many amazing people, including patients that I call friends. They are my supporters, they are my champions when I'm not great and when I'm going through tough times, but I'm also able to provide that for others as well. And we get to have a huge, amazing community that comes together for each other in events like this, online, across social media, one-on-one, as Jake said, WhatsApp, Messenger, everything apart from TikTok, because I just don't do TikTok. But we come together and we support each other because you know what? We get it. Like, being able to speak to somebody else that understands what you're going through is the best thing in the world, because you know you've got some support there. So that's a little bit about my story. Yes, I don't look sick, but none of us do, right? But if you want to see, if you want to read my story, you want to read somebody else's story. Sean shared his story in the latest edition of The Count as well. I know Patricia has shared her story as well. There's a number of people in this room that have shared their story. You know, connect with somebody else, connect with another patient, connect with another carer, support person, connect with our healthcare professionals and our medical advisors because these guys know absolutely everything. But sharing your story when you are ready can be amazingly powerful, not just for the people right now and for today, but for those of us to come as well. And thank you. I was so fast. Look at that.